Hey, Live on Purpose parents! Today we've got one of our most popular topics, how to get kids to listen the first time. I've got 5 tips for you. Probably a great place to start with this particular topic is to ask an obvious question. Why should they listen? Why should your kids listen? Now, I know as a parent, you've got all kinds of great answers for that, don't you? Yeah, but I'm talking about from the kids' perspective. This is really helpful for us as parents to consider for a moment, why should they listen from their perspective? Now, this changes the game a little bit because our approach to our kids will be adjusted based on our understanding of why they should listen in the first place. We have to have an answer to that question that makes sense to them, because you as a parent have a whole different level of thinking. Now, in other videos here on the channel, we've talked about 3 stages of moral development. If you want a quick review of that, just hit the Positive Parenting playlist and you can scroll through a bunch of different videos that we have there. There's one in particular called Teaching Kids Responsibility that will review those 3 stages with you. The reason I mention that is because at different stages of development, kids are going to have different answers for that question. Why should they listen to you? Might be good to know what their answer to that question is. Now at stage 1, kids are very self-centered. They're not mature enough yet to have that moral reasoning that would tell them, oh, I should listen to my mom because she's my mom and she knows best. No, they're not at that level yet. At stage 1, it's very self-centered. So they're thinking in terms of consequences. That means we need to have an effective use of consequences to get our kids to listen to us. Now, if they're at stage 2, they're willing to communicate rationally. And so we'll approach them a little differently. Stage 3, you don't even have to worry about that because they're doing really great thinking on their own. Most of the time when people are concerned about getting their kids to listen, it's because they're on stage 1. So let's go to some strategies that work really well for stage 1 kids. Remember, these are the ones who aren't really thinking about how does my behavior impact other people. They're not really thinking about what's the right thing to do. They're still at a stage of development that has them thinking, okay, what's in this for me? Or am I going to get clobbered if I do this? It's very externalized. We want to meet them on their level. Getting on our kids' level has a couple of different meanings. We have to understand what stage they're on, and you want to be physically on their level. If you're towering way up here and your child's way down here, they're not going to connect with what you're saying and probably won't be listening the first time. So get down on their level. Meet them where they are. You might want to get right on the floor if you're talking to a toddler. You might want to crouch down a little bit. Get physically on their level and then use very clear language that makes sense to them based on their development. Once you get on your child's level, here's another interesting thing for you to think about. How important is it for you that they listen to you? I'm asking that because that changes your energy as a parent. I think you're going to be much more effective in communicating with your child if you'll let go of your need for them to listen to you. Let go of your need. There's a couple of psychological reasons why this is powerful and important to remember. If it's you that's all uptight about, oh, is my kid listening? Then you're going to approach them in a way that will naturally cause a little bit of defensiveness or recoil in your child. When you let go of your need for them to listen to you, we're shifting the responsibility from your shoulders over to theirs. And now it becomes more important for them to listen. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can do this effectively as a parent. And probably the most important way is to have effective consequences. Most of the time when parents talk to their kids, They deliver the first message and the kids hear, wah, wah, wah. It's kind of like the old Charlie Brown movies. Do you remember when the adults are speaking? It's like, wah, wah, wah. And they don't hear a thing. It's because they've learned that it's not important the first time. The second time, they might hear the same thing. The third time, you might be upset enough that your voice goes up a few decibels and you get really serious about following through with some kind of a consequence. And that's when they listen. Hello? Time to wake up and see what's actually working. They're listening because the consequence follows the communication. Oh, well, what would happen if we moved the consequence up to right after the first communication? Then we're training them to listen the first time. I still remember this father that came in to see me. He had a couple of kids and was being the primary parent at home while mom was working. And he was so frustrated that these kids would not listen to him until he had talked to them 12 times. Why do I have to tell my kids 12 times before they'll do anything? And I asked him an important question. I said, why do they do it the 12th time? And he's like, oh. And it dawned on him that that's when he has reached a level of volume and intensity and seriousness that his kids knew it's time to pay attention. That's why they listened that 12th time. So I said, why don't you just move that up to the first time? Now you don't have to get all angry and your face turns red. Those are just the signals that his kids had learned indicate that there's a consequence coming. And it doesn't have to be red face and high volume. You can talk in a very calm voice with a smile. In fact, you know what? I think when parents are smiling, kids are thinking. Pretty good little rule of thumb. It makes them nervous. They're wondering what you know that they don't. Well, that's good because we want them to think. And this triggers the thinking. So we move the consequences up to happen right after the first communication. And most parents will give at least 2 or 3 communications before a consequence. We're training our kids to wait. And all they hear is wah, 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 until they know that you're serious. And you don't have to be all red-faced and loud for them to know that you're serious. It just has to be followed by an immediate consequence. Now, I promised you 5 tips at the beginning. The next one is really important. Let's do a quick review. You're going to ask yourself, why should they listen? And come up with a good reason that makes sense to them, not you. Second, you want to get on their level, which means that you meet them at their level of development, but also physically bring yourself down to whatever level they're on. If they're small, you get yourself a little smaller so that they'll listen to you. Third, let go of your need to have them listen. It's off your shoulders, it's onto theirs. Fourth, use effective consequences and move them up in the sequence so that it happens right after the first communication. Now, tip number 5. Are you ready? This one is powerful. Repeat. Do it again, because they've got to have a chance to learn something. And repetition helps them to do just that. Parenting, it's a tough job. You've got this, and we've got you, because the Parenting Power Up is available for you to power up your parenting. If you haven't checked it out yet, click on the links down below or right over there to the side, and you can connect immediately to a powerful course that Vicki and I have put together to help you as a parent.
Head was down, face locked onto the phone.